Welcome back to Easy English Talk Podcast.
Welcome back, everyone, to Easy English Talk Podcast. I'm Ryan, and as always, I'm really happy you're here with us today. Priya, hey, how are you doing? How has your day been so far?
Ryan, honestly, my day has been really good. I had a quiet morning, made some tea, and just enjoyed the calm before we started recording. How about you? What have you been up to?
I actually had a pretty slow morning too, which felt nice for a change. I took a walk, got some fresh air, and then came straight here to record with you. It was a good way to start the day.
That sounds really peaceful. A slow morning before a big conversation. I think that is the best kind of day.
It really is. And speaking of good starts, I want to say a big welcome to everyone listening right now. Whether you are on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else, we are so glad you found us. Where are you listening from today? Drop it in the comments. We genuinely love reading where our listeners are from around the world.
Yes, please do share. It always makes us smile to see so many different cities and countries. You are all part of this community, and that means a lot to us.
And while you are there in the comments, we also want to ask you something important. Is this podcast helping you improve your English? Is it helping you grow as a person? Maybe think differently or feel more confident? Let us know, because your feedback truly helps us make every episode better for you.
We create every episode with you in mind. So if something is working for you, or if there's something you want us to talk about, just tell us. We are always listening.
Today, we are discussing how to stop wasting time during Ramadan. And if you are here for this episode, you probably already know the feeling. Ramadan is a beautiful month, but it can also feel like time just slips away if you are not careful.
That is so true. And by the end of this episode, you're going to walk away with real practical ideas you can use right away. This is not just theory. This is something you can actually apply today.
So stay with us until the end, because every part of this conversation has something valuable for you. Let us get into it.
Yes, let us. And I think to really understand the solution, we first need to understand the problem clearly, because a lot of people feel guilty during Ramadan about wasting time, but they don't always know why it is happening.
Exactly. And I think that's such an important point to start with. You can't fix something if you don't understand what's causing it. So let us talk about the real reasons people waste time during Ramadan.
The first reason is something that almost everyone experiences, and it's the energy drop. When you're fasting, your body is running on less fuel during the day. That naturally makes you feel slower, more tired, and less motivated to do things.
And when you feel tired, what do? Most people reach for their phone. They start scrolling, watching videos, or just sitting and doing nothing. It feels harmless, but an hour can go by very quickly.
And then another hour, and suddenly the day is half over, and you feel like you haven't done anything meaningful. That guilt then makes you feel even worse, which takes away more motivation.
It becomes a cycle. Tiredness leads to distraction leads to guilt, and guilt leads to more inaction. That's a hard cycle to break if you don't understand it first.
Another big reason people waste time during Ramadan is the change in schedule. Ramadan completely changes your daily routine. You wake up earlier for sahur, you stay up later for Taraweeh prayers and iftar gatherings, and your sleep schedule gets shifted.
And when your schedule changes, your habits get confused. The things you normally do at certain times of day no longer fit the same way. So people end up in this uncomfortable in-between space where nothing feels organized.
Exactly. And without a clear structure, the day just drifts. You're not sure when to work, when to rest, when to worship, and when to be with family. Everything blurs together.
There's also a social pressure side to this. During Ramadan, there are more social events, more family gatherings, more invitations. And saying no to those things can feel wrong because community is such a big part of the month.
That is so real. And it's not just about events either. Even at home, there are longer conversations, more cooking, more time spent preparing for iftar. All of that takes time, and before you know it, the evening is gone.
So when we put all of these things together, the energy drop, the schedule shift, and the social demands, it is actually not surprising that people feel like time disappears during Ramadan. It makes sense.
It does. And that is actually important to hear because a lot of people blame themselves and think they are just being lazy. But the reality is, Ramadan creates very specific and very real challenges that make time management harder than usual.
So the goal is not to judge yourself. The goal is to understand what is happening and then make some smart, simple adjustments. And that is exactly what we are going to talk about now.
Let us start with the very first and most important step, which is to accept that Ramadan is a different kind of month. You cannot expect yourself to be as productive as you are in a normal month, and that is completely okay.
This is actually something a lot of productivity experts talk about. They call it working with your season, not against it. Ramadan has its own rhythm, and the people who do best are the ones who align with that rhythm instead of fighting it.
So instead of trying to do everything you normally do, plus all the Ramadan worship and activities, you need to decide what truly matters this month. That means being selective and honest about your priorities.
And this requires a simple but powerful exercise. Sit down, even just for 10 minutes, and ask yourself one question. What are the 3 or 4 things that absolutely need to happen this month?
Not 10 things, not everything on your list, just 3 or 4 things that are non-negotiable. For some people, it might be their work responsibilities. For others, it might be completing the Quran. And for others, it might be spending quality time with family.
When you get clear on those few priorities, everything else becomes easier to manage because you're not trying to do it all. You're just trying to do what matters most.
And here's something really helpful to keep in mind. Doing a few things well is always better than doing many things poorly. That's a principle that applies in any month, but it is especially true during Ramadan.
Now let's talk about something very practical, which is energy management. Because during Ramadan, your energy levels change throughout the day. And if you don't plan around those changes, you will always feel behind.
This is one of the most useful things I have ever learned about Ramadan productivity. Your energy is not constant. It goes up and down at specific times of day. And once you understand those patterns, you can plan your day much more effectively.
So let's walk through what a typical Ramadan day looks like in terms of energy. The time just after Sahur, that early morning period, is actually a window when many people have decent focus and calm. The body is settled, the world is quiet, and there's a natural sense of peace.
That early morning window is perfect for worship, reflection, reading Quran, or even light reading or journaling. It's not the time for heavy work, but it is a beautiful time for meaningful spiritual activity.
Then, as the morning goes on, most people who have slept well after Sahur or who go back to sleep for a couple of hours find that mid-morning is actually a decent time for focused work. Your body has adjusted and the day has not yet become heavy.
Mid-morning to early afternoon is often when mental energy is still manageable. This is a good time to tackle anything that requires thinking, planning, or concentration. Work tasks, studying, important emails, anything that needs a clear mind.
Then comes the late afternoon, which for most fasting people is the hardest part of the day. Hunger is stronger, thirst is real, and energy is at its lowest point. This is not the time to try and do difficult things.
The late afternoon is a time for rest, light activity, or simply waiting. Some people use this time to take a short nap, which actually helps them feel much better for the evening. Others use it for light tasks like tidying up or preparing for iftar.
And then after iftar, once you have eaten and rested for a little while, there is often a second wind of energy. This evening period can be used for lighter tasks, conversations, worship, or anything that does not require intense focus.
The key takeaway here is simple. Stop trying to work when your energy is low, and start protecting your high energy hours for your most important tasks. That one shift alone can change how much you get done in a day.
Now, let's talk about one of the biggest time traps during Ramadan, and that is the phone. This might be uncomfortable to hear, but most people waste a significant amount of time during Ramadan simply by scrolling on their phones.
And it makes sense why it happens. When you are tired and fasting, reaching for your phone feels like a harmless way to rest. It's easy, it's entertaining, and it doesn't feel like it is costing you anything.
But the problem is that scrolling on your phone does not actually rest your mind. Studies have shown that passive scrolling keeps the brain in a low-level stimulated state, which means you are not truly resting. You are just distracted.
And when you're distracted for long periods, you end up feeling more tired, not less. Plus, you have now used up time that could have been spent on something that actually matters to you.
So how do you fix this without feeling like you are being too hard on yourself? The answer is to replace the habit, not just remove it. Because if you just tell yourself to stop using your phone, you will struggle, because the urge to rest is real.
Instead, create a rest activity that actually restores you. That could be taking a short walk, sitting quietly, reading something light, listening to a calm podcast, or even just lying down with no screen. These things genuinely help your brain recover.
And if you want to keep using your phone, be intentional about it. Give yourself a specific time, maybe 30 minutes after iftar, and use that time however you want. But outside of that window, put the phone somewhere less accessible.
Even just moving your phone to another room while you are working or resting makes a big difference. Out of sight really does mean out of mind. It removes the automatic temptation before it even starts.
Let us now talk about something that people often overlook when thinking about productivity during Ramadan, and that is the power of a simple daily routine. Not a complicated schedule, just a simple, flexible structure for your day.
A lot of people either have no structure during Ramadan, which leads to drifting, or they try to create a perfect schedule, which they cannot maintain. What actually works is something in between, a gentle framework for your day.
Think of it as anchors. You pick 3 or 4 fixed points in your day, things that happen at the same time every day, and everything else flows around those anchors.
For example, your anchors might be suhoor time, your main work or study block, iftar time, and your evening worship or family time. Those 4 things happen every day. Everything else fits around them as it can.
This is a very low-pressure way to create structure without feeling trapped by a rigid schedule. It gives you direction without demanding perfection. And during Ramadan, flexibility is really important.
Another thing that helps enormously is setting a very simple daily intention each morning. This does not have to be elaborate. It can be one sentence. Today, I want to get this one important thing done.
When you start your day with a single clear intention, your brain has a target. It knows what success looks like for that day. And even if nothing else goes perfectly, achieving that one thing will help you feel good about your day.
This also reduces the mental load of deciding what to do. Decision fatigue is real, and it is even more draining when you are fasting. A simple intention removes that friction and makes it easier to get started.
Now I want to talk about something that is specific to Ramadan and really important, which is the balance between worship and productivity. Because some people feel guilty focusing on personal goals during a month that is meant for spiritual growth.
This is a really meaningful tension, and I think it's worth addressing directly. Ramadan is absolutely a spiritual month. Prayer, fasting, reflection, and charity are at the heart of it. But that does not mean personal growth is in conflict with spirituality.
In fact, the two can support each other beautifully. When you are disciplined in your worship, that discipline naturally overflows into other areas of your life. When you feel spiritually grounded, you make better decisions and use your time more wisely.
And many scholars and thinkers have pointed out that wasting time, even during Ramadan, is not something Islam encourages. Being purposeful with your time is itself a form of gratitude. Using your hours well is a way of honoring the gift of life.
So instead of seeing productivity and spirituality as 2 different things competing for your time, see them as 2 parts of the same goal. You are trying to be your best self during this month. That includes both your spiritual life and your personal life. The way to make this work practically is to protect your worship time first. Pray on time, maintain your fasting with sincerity, read Quran consistently. Once your spiritual commitments are clear and protected, everything else can fit around them.
And then within the remaining time, be intentional, but also be gentle with yourself. You do not need to achieve extraordinary things during Ramadan. You just need to not waste the time that is available to you.
That is such an important distinction. Not wasting time is actually a much easier and more realistic goal than being maximally productive. It just means being present, being purposeful, and avoiding the habits that drain your hours without giving anything back.
Let us talk about one more really practical topic, and that is how to handle social time during Ramadan without letting it take over your entire schedule. Because, as we mentioned earlier, social demands are a real part of this month.
And I want to be clear, social connection during Ramadan is beautiful and valuable. Breaking fast with family and friends, gathering after Taraweeh, sharing meals, these are not things to eliminate. They are part of what makes Ramadan special.
The key is to be intentional about which social commitments you say yes to, and to set gentle boundaries around the ones that tend to go on much longer than they need to.
For example, if you have a social gathering that typically turns into a 4-hour event, you might decide in advance how long you plan to stay. You do not have to announce it or make it awkward. You just have a personal plan.
This kind of quiet boundary setting is not about being rude or antisocial. It's about respecting your own time and energy so that you can show up fully for both your responsibilities and your relationships.
And when it comes to invitations, it's completely okay to say no gracefully to some of them. You cannot attend everything, and trying to do so will leave you exhausted and resentful. Choosing carefully is not selfish, it's wise.
something else that helps with social time is to combine your social moments with your meaningful activities where possible. For example, if you always call a family member in the evening, use that time to also walk or do something light, rather than sitting still and scrolling before and after.
Or if you are gathering for iftar, be fully present and engaged rather than on your phone. Making the social time truly meaningful means you get more out of it, and it feels complete rather than like a distraction.
Now, let us bring in something that applies very specifically to the people listening to this podcast, which is language learning during Ramadan, because many of our listeners are working on improving their English, and Ramadan can either be a great time for that or a time when all progress pauses.
I love that we are talking about this because I think Ramadan is actually a wonderful time to keep learning English, and here's why. The month has a slower, more reflective pace. It naturally invites listening, reading, and quiet learning.
Exactly. And the kind of learning that fits Ramadan really well is passive and enjoyable learning. Things like listening to an English podcast while preparing iftar, reading a short article in English in the morning, or watching a short video in English during rest time.
These are low-effort, high-value activities. You are not sitting down to study grammar for 2 hours. You are simply exposing your brain to the English language during moments that are already part of your day.
And this kind of consistent, gentle exposure is actually one of the most powerful ways to improve your English over time. It builds fluency naturally, without stress, and it works especially well when you are already in a reflective and receptive state of mind.
So instead of telling yourself that you will pause your English learning until after Ramadan, use Ramadan as a time to practice in a softer, more enjoyable way. Let it be the month where learning feels like a pleasure, not a task.
And that is one of the reasons we created Easy English Talk Podcast, to give you something worth listening to, something that helps you grow in a way that feels natural and calm. You can listen while cooking, while resting, while commuting, anywhere that works for you.
The goal is always to make English feel like part of your life, not something separate and difficult. And Ramadan is actually a beautiful month to practice that mindset. Life is slower, and learning can be slower too. That is not a problem. That is an opportunity.
Let us now talk about something that is really the foundation of everything we have discussed today, which is your mindset going into Ramadan, because the way you think about this month will shape everything you do in it.
A lot of people enter Ramadan with one of two extremes. Either they plan to completely pause their life and just focus on worship, or they try to maintain everything exactly as it was before Ramadan. Both of these approaches cause problems.
The first approach, pausing everything, often leads to a feeling of emptiness when the spiritual highs are not constant. Real life does not fully pause, and pretending it does creates stress and missed responsibilities.
And the second approach, maintaining everything the same, leads to exhaustion because you are adding all the Ramadan commitments on top of an already full schedule, and your energy cannot sustain that for 30 days.
The healthiest mindset is something in between. See Ramadan as a recalibration month, a time to slow down slightly, reprioritize, focus on what truly matters, and let go of what does not.
This mindset removes the guilt of not doing everything. It also removes the anxiety of feeling like you have to be perfectly productive every day. You are simply being thoughtful and purposeful with your time.
And when you approach the month that way, something interesting happens. You often end up doing more meaningful things, even if you do fewer total things. Quality over quantity becomes your natural rhythm.
That is such a freeing way to live, not just during Ramadan, but in general. And Ramadan can actually teach you that lesson in a way that stays with you long after the month is over.
Let us also spend a moment on what to do when you feel like you have already wasted too much time. Because sometimes you reach the middle of Ramadan and you feel like the first 2 weeks slipped away without much to show for them.
This is a really common experience, and it can lead to a very unhelpful feeling of, well, the month is already half over, so what is the point of trying now? That thinking is what we need to address.
Every single day of Ramadan is complete in itself. The last 10 days of Ramadan are actually considered the most sacred and most spiritually powerful. So even if you feel like you have wasted time, there is always an opportunity to reset.
And the way to reset is simple. Do not try to compensate for lost time by overloading yourself. Just start fresh from today. Pick your one priority, structure your date gently, and begin again without guilt.
This is actually one of the spiritual lessons Ramadan teaches us, the idea of tawbah, which means returning or turning back. You do not have to carry the weight of past mistakes or past wasted time. You can simply begin again with a clean intention.
And that lesson applies whether you're talking about worship, productivity, or language learning. Fresh starts are always available. All you have to do is choose to begin again.
I think that is one of the most encouraging things about this month. No matter how the first week or two have gone, the door to a better use of your time is always open. That is a genuinely beautiful thing.
It really is. And I think it's also a reminder that Ramadan is not meant to be a month of pressure or perfectionism. It's meant to be a month of growth, sincerity, and effort. Not perfection, but genuine effort.
So, let us bring everything together now and look at the full picture of what we have talked about today. Because I want you to leave this episode with a clear and simple sense of what to actually do.
Yes, let us do a gentle summary. The first thing we talked about is understanding why time gets wasted during Ramadan. The energy drop from fasting, the schedule disruption, and the social demands all create real challenges. Understanding that removes the guilt and helps you plan better.
The second thing is to decide on your top 3 or 4 priorities for the month. Not everything, just the things that truly matter. When you are clear on those, everything else becomes easier to manage.
Third, manage your energy, not just your time. Identify when your energy is highest during the day and protect those hours for your most important tasks. Let your lower energy hours be for rest or light activities.
Fourth, address your phone habits. Scrolling is the biggest silent time thief during Ramadan. Replace it with actual rest activities, and if you want to use your phone, make it intentional and time-limited.
Fifth, create a simple daily structure using anchors. Pick 3 or 4 fixed points in your day and let everything else flow around them. Flexibility within a gentle framework is the key.
Sixth, set one simple daily intention each morning. Just one thing you want to accomplish today. That focus is more powerful than a long to-do list that never gets done.
Seventh, see your spiritual life and personal goals as supporting each other, not competing. Protect your worship time first, and then use the remaining time purposefully and without guilt.
Eighth, be intentional about social commitments. Enjoy the social beauty of Ramadan, but set quiet personal boundaries so that social time does not consume your entire schedule.
And ninth, if you are a language learner, use Ramadan as a time for gentle, enjoyable English practice. Listen to podcasts, read short articles, watch easy content. Let learning feel like a pleasure this month.
And finally, if you feel like you have already wasted time, do not let that feeling stop you. Reset today. Begin again with one clear intention and a gentle structure. It is never too late to make the rest of the month meaningful.
Those are 10 really practical and doable ideas, and not one of them requires you to be superhuman. They just require a little awareness and a small shift in how you approach your days.
That is the beauty of it. None of this is complicated. It is all about small, consistent choices that add up over time. And Ramadan, because it is a month with such a clear beginning and end, is actually a perfect time to practice these habits.
Absolutely. And I hope everyone listening today feels a little more equipped and a little less guilty after hearing this conversation. You are not failing at Ramadan if you struggle with time. You are just human. And now you have some tools to help.
I love that. And I want to say a genuinely warm thank you to everyone who listened today. Whether you made it 5 minutes in or you stayed until the very end, we appreciate your time and your trust. It really does mean a lot to us.
It means everything, honestly. You choosing to spend part of your day with Easy English Talk podcast is not something we take for granted. We hope this episode added something real to your day and to your Ramadan.
And before we go, we want to invite you to explore the other episodes we have on Easy English Talk podcast. We have conversations on self-improvement, English fluency tips, confidence, communication, and so much more.
Every episode is designed to help you grow your English and grow as a person at the same time. So take a look, find something that speaks to you, and keep the learning going.
Until next time, take care of yourself, use your time well, and we will see you in the next episode.
Ramadan Mubarak to everyone celebrating, and to all our listeners everywhere, thank you so much. We will see you soon.